Let's go to your 5-weight, RJ.
Oh, I got to catch it. Okay. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins. 5-weight, -7. There's a little value with the line, like I said. But this is simply a miss. This is where all the numbers people, like Fez and others, and the computer rankings struggle. Because unless they have a built-in what happens when the starting quarterback is out, and you might think, well, that's the most obvious thing that could happen. They must have that. It's surprising the number of power ratings that don't. And it's not just power ratings. It's looking at stats. Oh, what's the yards per play for Miami? Okay, you might answer it. But then I'm going to say, well, what about when Tua's in? And you'd be surprised. Fez, you don't have that number, do you?
Do not, but
no.
I tell you on my power ratings, I actually made Miami -9.5, and I'm regretting not using Miami because of that.
Well, and I think because what you do, as much as you're a numbers guy, you're a feel guy too. I mean, you have that great combination, I would say, and you are accounting for the fact that Tua is, when he's in, not only is he the better quarterback, obviously, than the backup, but they've played pretty darn well. If you just isolate those games, Miami is better than the market thinks.
I guess my concern was that New England might be better than the market thinks for the same reason that they've had an upgrade.
But doesn't it feel like that's been well accounted for?
It does. That's why this line is 7. Well,
yeah.
We got a comp here, right? Miami last week was laying 7 against the Raiders. So are the Raiders worse than New England? I'd say they're kind of comparable teams, right?
If you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have said the Raiders are better, but I do think New England has rightfully gained, since the coach called them out and said soft on D. But, you look at that I was following that Rams game pretty closely because I had a same game parlay, as I talked about last week on it. And the thing I give credit to for New England is they fought back. I think they're playing hard. I think this is so, but to me, this line, I'd be interested what the line was in the summer, if anyone can grab it, because to me, New England is better than we expected by a little, maybe a point and a half, and I would say Miami, if you look at just with Tua, is at least as good as we expected. What do you think about that? I would make the case that defensive line has been playing quite well. Fez, where do you got Miami relative to the start of the season, forgetting Tua's absent games?
Yeah, so the Dolphins during the summer we were laying 8, so now we're only laying 7, and I'm pretty sure Miami's a comparable power rating. 1 second.
And as he's getting at, to me that tells me I like this side because I think that New England's probably a little better, and I think Miami's probably a little better than we expected with Tua. And because of that, I'm laying 7. Say it again.
Spot on. Miami, I got a half a point upgrade from the beginning of the year.
That's it, baby. Give me Miami.
Love it. Yeah, I'm on it as well. And also, you look at they've dominated the series against the Patriots recently. We all know about how Brady and Belichick struggled going down to Miami, but this is even in a different regime since December of 2020. They've covered in 8 straight games against the Patriots. So Miami is dominated.
Yeah. If you actually look at that. During Belichick and Brady's heyday, It was like a third of the games they lost over like 10 years was at Miami. It was crazy. And I think that's something where Miami's the only team with a winning record against them during that time or some variation. So
I call this, RJ, it's the vacation mindset. Right? It's like you go out of a cold weather place. It's dark. In New England, it gets dark at like 3:00, right? In Boston, it's very cold this time of year. And when you get off that plane in Miami, even though you're there on a business trip, something physiological inside of you, it just kicks into vacation mode, and you're not 100%.
And maybe it's the heat too, right?
Yeah.
The last point I'll make is New England still likes to play man to man. And if there's any team that you're going to have trouble, it's going to be those receivers with Miami. And I think that's part of the reason Belichick had trouble, at least recently, is driven by how good those receivers are. So I think there's a lot of things. Listen, I don't like laying the lumber, but this is a rare case, 5-weight Miami.